Hello, and welcome in to Beyond the Den by Bear Claw Media. I am Chris Bolin, joined as always by Ben Schleiger, and as always, we are brought to you by Crave Hot Dogs and Barbecue in Greeley, Colorado, offering specialty all-beef hot dogs, savory barbecue and sides, plus a self-pour beer wall. Perfect setting for family outings or a night out with friends. Stop by and hashtag Beat the Craving today. Ben, week 4, 5, week 5, it was an interesting week. Maybe the marquee matchup, Idaho Montana, didn't quite hit the way I think we had hoped, but ultimately still a fun week of football. So how you doing, buddy?
Pretty good. I mean, overall, like interesting results throughout the Big Sky for sure. Shaking up the landscape and kind of sculpting what the shape is going to be going forward. Especially as we just take our toe and dip it into conference play, we're going to get fully submerged here quick, and things are going to go off the rails. I think Chris said it was a little bit of a letdown because Montana wins, so I think he's just a
That's
little
always a
upset
letdown,
Montana's
though.
still winning.
Yes,
But overall, a good week.
unabashedly, that's why I'm upset.
But yeah, looking at it overall, a lot of interesting things. Not sure where you want to start in the Big Sky, but just notably around the FCS. Interesting that South Dakota got annihilated by North Dakota State. I think everybody's consensus number one is going to be consensus again, 51-13 over there in Fargo. So pretty interesting there. Austin Peay's still winning. There's still a lot of good teams keeping the ball moving, but I think nobody's moving the ball as aggressively as North Dakota State. Although Montana State, they sure put up a number
Mercyhurst.
on Pittsburgh. Yeah, Mercyhurst is floating
They don't
around.
have
They're
the
getting that money.
defense, but they are moving the ball. But also, we'll probably touch on a couple more of these when we go through 3-year top 25. But also, Abilene not laying an egg. Let's say Incarnate Word kind of showing why they had so much preseason hype. And really just actually, you know what? Abilene did lay an egg with that final score. I'm comfortable saying that. But let's wrap back into the Big Sky here. Idaho State, Northern Colorado. That one's, if you want to hear us talk about that, you got about an hour of it already posted. Then I think the biggest game was Montana Idaho, but the biggest result were my boys just going out and shooting themselves in the foot and then reloading and then like turning the gun on their chest. And I don't even know how you would describe what Sac State did, losing 32-24 at home against Cal Poly. I didn't get a chance to watch this one. This was some overlap with the UNC game, but holy shit, Ben! What do you got to say about this one?
Yeah, I was gonna say this was my biggest Big Sky result of the week for sure. This poses a lot of questions about Cal Poly and Sac State. Is Cal Poly good? Is Sac State bad? Is there? Are we gonna run through the fork in the road and crack our radiator because it's too early to tell, and those are questions not worth answering yet. But we got to answer what the hell happened to Cardell Williams. 3 interceptions, below 50%, and he fumbled the ball but recovered it himself. So just like overall, this is not what they can do going forward. Like, sure, your rushing attack was pretty fierce. Rodney Hammond Jr., 19 for 105. Damian Henderson II, 12 for 93. That's great. Ernest Campbell, 3 for 91, catching it through the air and getting a touchdown. That's all fine and dandy, but you got your ass whooped by Cal Poly. Like, we have to start asking some very hard questions about Cal Poly, and if Bo Kelly can lead them through the air, not albeit for a lot of yards, like 17 for 27, 203 and 2 touchdowns. Tyree Washington, 22 carries and 113 yards and a touchdown. Like, very modest stats, but they made the absolute most of it. Shout out Brian Dukes Jr., number 9. 2 interceptions, 1 return for a touchdown. Just, yeah, overall, this is a bad result for Sac State. Anybody who ranks Sac State, I'm gonna have some questions on.
Yeah, anybody who ranks them moving forward, obviously, they surely deserve to be ranked last week. But I think they did. But you're right. They won't be in my top 25 this week. Just piss poor performance. I don't know what else to say. I'm very disappointed. I had a lot of personal stock in this Sac State team, so that hurts. But you know, sometimes you get them wrong. You just gotta chalk this one up to the game.
The first moment of the season for the Go-Go, and it's a no-no.
That I was trying to. I was gonna say stopped, but no is better. That it was right there, and I missed it. Good work. But Montana 41, Idaho 30. I was surprised to see this was a 10.5 point spread. Once again, the odd makers nailed it. They right on. Just kudos to you guys. What were your thoughts on this one? Have the floor, Ben. I don't know what I was gonna ask you.
This one, obviously, I'll have to go back and watch it because I think we were getting beers at Crave hot dogs and barbecue at that point in time. Yeah, taking full advantage of the self-pour beer wall premium
Oh
barbecue.
yes.
I chose barbecue this time, not hot dogs. I will choose hot dogs next time we go. But it was a good time. Even have the cup to prove it. Haha. It's a new cup. Haha. But yeah, it was a good time. We checked out some FBS football during that time. So I will have to go back and check out this game later on. But my first reactions is Idaho had nothing to do except for chunk plays. A long of 62, a long of 45, a long of 47, and then the other dude's catch is 1 for 1 yard. Like they had some chunk plays that work for him. 30 points is obviously notable, and the Grizz need to fix that. But also, like they kept everybody to very modest stats. Joshua Wood didn't clear 50%. He was supposed to be a preseason all conference quarterback. He didn't play like it this time. 50% and 250 yards. That's fine. That's not going to win the Big Sky, especially not against ranked opponents. Montana, Ayot's cleaning it up. He had a very clean game, a boring game, a very clean game. 17 for 23 for 223 and a touchdown. Kudos to him. Eli Gilman, showing like himself. 27 carries, 142 yards, 2 touchdowns, 5.3 average. That's going to win games in the Big Sky. Michael Wortham, he was in all 3 phases of the game, really. At least like scoring and yards wise, because he was second on rushing yards, he was third on receiving yards, and obviously he was returning kicks. So overall, Montana did everything they needed to, and Idaho just fell short of the occasion. Like the chunk plays are great. Hit that missed assignment. Make them pay for anything that they give you, but at the same time, you gotta have consistency. If your best catch of the day was a huge chunk play, congrats. But like you gotta go get more than just that. You can't have your third receiver on there have only one other catch other than that and it be for 1 yard. Like you were getting shut down schematically, so you got to revamp. 30 points, commendable. Montana, they should be upset they gave up that much, but they should also be patting themselves on the back. 41 points. That's going to win games in the Big Sky, and that's going to win games against ranked teams.
One more game seems to be interesting. Then we have two. I think Bill Simmons calls them the poop fecta games. But Northern Arizona 31, Portland State 17. The exact result I think we were expecting win-loss wise. Again, didn't have a chance to actually watch any of this one. Portland State kept it closer than I'd expect. Maybe, it's just one of those get up for their first conference game type of things. I guess NAU was up 24-10 at halftime, and it never really. Portland State scored one, I guess, to make it 24-14 or 24-17. So they did pull within a touchdown, but then NAU score a fourth quarter touchdown. So I'm not going to panic about this one. Maybe Portland State has a little more life than I thought. Maybe NAU's not quite as good as I thought, but I'm not going to read too much into this still 14-point win by Northern Arizona.
Yeah, just overall boring stats with an expected result. And Ty Pennington, like he's doing just enough to win games. I'd say he's definitely showing that he deserved to get more votes than Joshua Wood did. But overall, I think the identity of the Big Sky might be changing a bit. Instead of gunslinging and just like trying to have these like spread offenses all the time. I think there's a lot more emphasis on the runs because the runs are getting a lot of play in conference so far. Kuran Goset, give me a pronunciation key for that, Brooke. 16 for 112 and 2 touchdowns. Like, just there's some running backs that are really making their hay in these early on games. Of course, that's one game into conference. There's lots of time to gain film and kind of rebuke some of that running game. But I think overall, Big Sky is leaning towards heavy running right now, and that's great. But if anybody wants to be a playoff team, you're going to need to be able to do both.
Then the last two that we have here are Montana State, as I thought I could stall long enough for my schedule to load from that box score. Montana State 57, Eastern Washington 3, and UC Davis 34, Weber 12. The only thing I really have from either of those games is Eastern Washington actually the worst team in the conference? Like I've been the lowest on Portland State of all the people, but
At least Portland State had a consistent quarterback. This 3 quarterback play I see on the box score, that's disgusting. I'm not even sure I really want to go get film on Eastern this week because I don't think it matters. But shout out Justin Lamson. He's been fairly pedestrian in the passing game, and he's gotten a lot better this week. Of course, look who you're playing. It's not exactly monsters versus monsters. It's monster versus oh, there's David. Let's go step on him. So 13 for 20, 270, 3 touchdowns, just a lot better improvement overall. Adam Jones, a little bit of a muted day, but you look at the rushing chart. Literally, I think there's 10 guys in there. So overall, like just fantastic that everybody who probably needed to get some reps got some reps in that game. But yeah, we can't take anything away from that.
all right, so let's move forward to next week. There is really one interesting game in the Big Sky. Do you want to start with it or do you want to end with it? Maybe there's more than one, but there's kind of one I think that stands out a little bit above the rest.
You tee us off with your favorite, Chris, as my phone is fighting the heck out of me.
As your phone does its best. Okay.
Here we go.
Let's lead up to it and we'll get the big. I figured the game of the week's outside the Big Sky this week too, but let's start with a couple. I want to say
Are you
easy
sure,
ones,
Chris?
but
It might be the poop bowl of the week with Portland State, Eastern Washington. You were just asking which team's worse. Like,
I
we're
was
gonna
gonna
find
say
out.
that one's a little more interesting than I thought.
We can't
But
tie in
let's
college anymore. Somebody's gonna win. Somebody's gonna lose.
go in reverse order here. They're all, fuck it. I'll just go from the bottom. Montana at Idaho State, because these bottom three are all like interesting enough. Idaho State has played Montana tough. At least it was either last year or the year before. It was kind of a weirdly close game. I think the Grizz are still I think they're a step above all the teams below them in the conference. They beat Idaho. Sac State's fallen off. Montana State and Montana are pretty level in most people's eyes, I'd say. And then NAU's been stout. We'll see that this week. But that like second tier of teams like 3 through 6 is not as I thought Montana may be at the bottom of that, but I think they're at the top of the range 2 through 6. All that to say, they're going to Idaho State next week. What are you thinking?
I think it's interesting. I think this will be a game at halftime, and then Montana's going to pull out. It's interesting. Like yards wise, they're very similar. They have very similar like kind of contributions from each side of the ball. I think this is almost like Montana and Montana Junior. Like it's going to be like strength versus strength, fire versus fire. I think it's going to be a great game to watch for about 2 quarters. Third quarter maybe, but I feel like it'll start to pull away. I don't think there's anything on Idaho State's defense that's going to be able to slow down Ayat, even as mediocre of expectations as I still have of him, as he's already cleared 1,000 yards for the season. I think Ayat still needs time to grow into his full potential. And this is going to be a good building block game where it's difficult, but he has, it's a difficult game, but he has enough success through the air that it builds confidence. I feel like Gillum and Brooks are pretty interchangeable this year, at least from the performance we saw against UNC. That was pretty outstanding. But yeah, I think Montana is like 1A and like Idaho State's 2B. So I'd probably leave this at like a 10.5 point spread.
Funny you mentioned that, Ben. I was actually going to ask the Reddit FCS like sportsbook thing has a matchup predictor, so we can get like something resembling what will be the line if you want to pick against those instead.
Yeah,
And you
I'm
were
okay
not
picking against that. Because money line, I'm gonna take the Grizz. So even if you want to
same.
do 1 point for spread, 1 point for money line, because I think that's a little more interesting. But yeah, I'm taking Grizz for sure. But Idaho State, they showed more life than I was expecting out of them this past weekend.
Same. Unfortunately, same. So yeah, let's go against the spread here, and it has this one with Idaho State at home as a 19-point underdog. Would
Wow.
you take? I think I will personally take Idaho State plus 19.
Ooh.
Um, I don't love it. I don't know if that's the right thing to do, but that's what I'm. I also hope they start Davis Harsin. Harsin feels like just a better, more comfortable quarterback than Jordan Cook. That I should have probably said that in the
Yeah, I'm kind of a
bear
softie
with
for
us, but
Cook. I think Cook's still a quality quarterback if he improves his completions. God, 19's brutal. I don't.
I know
At Idaho State, I'm gonna take the under. I feel like it's more like a 17 point.
Idaho State to cover. Okay, you threw.
Yeah,
I was
Idaho
like, Ben,
State.
I didn't even give you the over under. That makes
Sorry,
sense. That we'll
sorry.
both
I've been out of sports betting for a while.
same on Idaho State. Then let's move to UC Davis at Cal Poly. Um, this one would have been a complete like nothing. I would not have spent any time thinking about this if we had done this a week ago. But um, Cal Poly beating Sac State. I have not been like super high on UC Davis all year, and the line that this is giving me really makes me wonder if it's wrong. But it's a rat line, Ben. It is UC Davis -2.
Oh, brutal.
Yeah,
Um,
that's like a. I almost feel like you have to bet Cal Poly because what the hell? I feel like that one more realistically will be like a 7 to 9 point spread when the books actually release it. Um,
yeah, I'm gonna take UC Davis to extend the spread.
yeah, I'm with you. Like
Cal Poly's good, but I
it just
don't. Them being at home makes it interesting. Um, but even so, like Jordan Fisher, Sam Batu, like Rex Connors, like they just it's kind of like the same as a Montana game. Like I feel like it's definitely interesting. There's going to be a lot of good matchups, but at the end of the day, there is a grade player versus a B grade player. Can the B grade player win? Sure. Is he going to win more times out of 10 than the A grade player? No.
honestly very fair. I like everything's telling me UC Davis in this one as well, so I'm not going to overthink it. That really threw me off. Let's see what this Portland State at Iwu line is because I wouldn't be surprised if it's close to that. Like,
Let it be one and a
um,
half. Us
oh,
just struggle.
okay, so this one on the other direction, kind of similar to the Montana spread, is at Eastern Washington -11.5.
What?
Or yeah, Eastern Washington -11.5. So they think Iwu will
Wow.
win by 10 plus.
Wow. Wow. That's something. That's spicy. I hate to say it, but I'm gonna choose Portland State to cover.
Yeah, dude, I'm with you. I also dislike it because I'm afraid
If you
that
told me
that
6.5, I'd be like, ugh, that's disgusting. I could flip a coin and it could go either way. But like, yeah, 11, I don't think so. It could be
yeah,
with their three quarterbacks and like Portland State doesn't know what to prepare for, but at least Portland State has some consistency. Also, they still have like all conference Isaiah Green at at corner, and of course, he's their leading tackler, which isn't great, but of course, Chapa's our leading tackler most likely. So I'm gonna roll with the Vikings getting their first win of the season, even though I just said they were the worst team.
I'm afraid that Ewu Portland. I'm afraid last week was just a one-off, and we're gonna look up and Ewu will win by like 21, and we'll be like, oh yeah, that's probably how it always was gonna happen. But I'm with you. That's a lot of points with Eastern looking like doo doo against Montana State. So, let's bring it to Montana State, heading to Northern Arizona, playing in the walk-up Sky Dome. And the line here is Montana State -6. And this one, I think they nailed. This is exactly where I would have set this line, I think.
I figured it
So
would
they
have been
think
bigger.
Montana State will win by 6. You think it should be a wider spread?
Personally, I do. Of course, like um, besides their result this past week, it doesn't. The Mercyhurst thing is just a huge question mark on everybody's plate. Also, the fact that they didn't win at South Dakota, that's obviously a knock against them. So here we are. I'm gonna take Montana State to go above 6.
I'm going to flip it, and I'm going to say NAU keeps this one close. I've been like slowly underwhelmed by Montana State and slowly gaining confidence on NAU before that game last week where they won but didn't quite take care of business at Portland State like I had hoped. But I think this will be a game to show whether NAU is for real or not. And they could still lose by 3-10 and show that they are a top 10 team in the country. But I'm gonna put my nuts out on the line on this one, Ben, and go with Northern Arizona, because if Sac State's not going to be the darling, somebody else has to. I don't want to just pick chalk all year.
That's fair. I'm not trying to pick chalk. It's just I've been overwhelmed with Montana State as a whole, but I've also been overwhelmed with Ty Pennington specifically. And I think as nice as their resume is so far, I still have just more belief that Montana State has depth. I think NAU's been creative. I think, unfortunately, Brian Wright has been very innovative with trying to get a number of different playmakers available for the chance to rise to the occasion. So I think he's doing a great job. I just don't know if great job means beating the Cats.
Yeah, I also am not sure if it quite means a win here, but I think they'll put up a good fight. And I think that they will do the things they kind of need to do to show that they're legit. At least I hope so. Because at the end of the day, Ben, there might just be one team that's way more legit in FCS than the rest of them. And I think they're probably gonna. Who am I saying? Probably I picked it. They're in the game of the week. North Dakota State heading to Illinois State, a team that I've been lower on than consensus. Didn't actually see what they did this week, but they did not play. It would appear, so that's why I didn't hear about it. But NDSU favored by 23.5 points here, Ben. And
See, this is where I don't think this is the game of the week. If you have the time to look up West Georgia Austin P, I feel like that's a better game. Because
maybe, but this is like consensus top 10 matchup. That we can go to that one because that one will likely be a more competitive game.
We can pick the spread on the North Dakota State game, but I'm going to. What is it? 23.5.
23.5.
I'll take North Dakota State to cover.
Same, and I don't even think I'm that like sweating it. I think they might win like 56-7. I don't think Illinois State's very good, and I think North Dakota State is just incredibly good. I don't think I think Illinois State's
for sure. I'm like I don't disagree, but like Chris is putting a stamp on it.
I think they're a top 20 team, but I think they're closer to 20 than they are to 5. Who knows? Let's pick the West Georgia Austin P game too. And that one has Austin P favored by 3 at home.
Oh, good one. Good one. Good one for sure. I'm choosing West Georgia because I feel like they're going to win the game. But that's a sick line right there. I feel like I feel like there's a little bit of a wind out of their sails after only winning 27-24 this past week, but I like the West Georgia train. If I'm on a certain train, especially if one doesn't matter, I'm gonna ride with Hogue and go on the West Georgia train, even though they're playoff ineligible.
I'm gonna go with Austin P just because I think I don't know, West Georgia I'm not as sold on as you. They have proved it. They have won and they've beat impressive teams, but I'm not quite seeing it the way you are, like wholeheartedly. So I'm gonna pick Austin P. And we can split on that. That we'll make that one the 2-pointer game of the week. So I think that will be a really good game, though.
I like Austin Peay's offense better. I think just as a whole team, West Georgia has been very interesting as a whole unit rather than just like relying on one side of the ball.
Awesome. Well, Ben, last week I had the honor of having my ballot filled out by the time we recorded my top 25, and this week, buddy, it's you who has the top 25 filled out. We going back to our roots here. This is how it's been typically the past couple years, where I pick through Ben's top 25. So, having done it myself, I'll probably be a little bit nicer. Actually, no, you just pissed me off with your top 5. Never mind. I'm just kidding.
I
Uh,
figured I would. I figured I would. I did move some teams based on not playing, just because Montana did get a ranked win. So
oh,
usually, the peanut gallery answer is don't move them. They didn't play. They didn't have a chance to screw it up. Well, you're right, but Montana also got a ranked win. Tarleton has a great year so far. I'm on that train as well. I love what Tarleton is doing. Fully support them going into the playoffs and shocking people. If not, you know, if it has to be someone out of the Big Sky, I want them. But Montana got a ranked win, and that was impressive.
so I guess I should say I'll put this up the same way I put mine up on the screen if you're watching. But NDSU, South Dakota State 2, Montana 3, Tarleton State 4, and Montana State 5. I respect it. I do. I can't. I'm not gonna put Montana. I don't think I'm gonna move Montana up from 5. You're right. It was a top 10 win.
It's more of
I
power rankings than
it,
anything. Like I feel like
it,
if certain teams played, I would give the edge to certain teams. Except for North Dakota State. I think that North Dakota State is the only team I would favor all year long.
they can just not play until playoffs, and I'd probably still pick them.
A
So
little bit.
I'm with you on that.
Unfortunately, they're just
Oh,
playing at a professional level.
okay. So yeah, I think Idaho's still a top 15 team. I don't know what to do with them because I don't think they're more than like 5. There
I
might not
dropped them
even be
about three
5.
spots, 2 to 3.
Like, yeah, there might not even be 5 top like teams that I think could compete. It may be North Dakota State in their own tier, and then maybe SDSU through Montana State in their own tier, and then literally 6 through maybe 15 I could see all being fairly not interchangeable, but you have West Georgia 13. That's a little high, but I understand. We've talked plenty about them. I I think I would take them more seriously if their logo didn't look like a for-profit university that gets advertised on daytime television. Like that's the most national American university, Colorado Tech
They
ass
literally do
logo
get
I've ever
advertised
seen.
on ESPN too. So yeah, fair point there. Tennessee Tech. That's kind of like a Cinderella. If they played somebody in the top 15, I would put them under by probably 6 to 8 points for sure. They're very interesting, very impressive. I think their resume is worth noting. It's just more so of UC Davis hasn't like they've they've been good, but they just I need something. It's like a dish that is like just missing something seasoning wise to make you want to order it again. It's like it was good, but I don't like I would explore other options if I was going to come to that restaurant again. West Georgia, I think they're on fire right now. Monmouth, I think their offense is on fire. NAU, I think they're creative and innovative enough to be a top 15 team and be a playoff spoiler. Everybody outside of there, except for Austin P, I really believe in their offense. I'm not settled on their defense. Are good teams, not great teams.
I think the way you described it, the it's a good dish, but if I came back to the restaurant, I think I'd order something else. I think that actually really sums up kind of my 6 through, honestly, man, 6 through like 18 just on yours, because I'm high. I think I'm a little higher on Austin P. They're all
Yeah.
very much could win, could lose. I would be probably close to a pick 'em in a lot of those games. Um, yeah. So you've been pretty high on Lehigh all year. So what's your feelings on them? You have them at 7 here.
Right. Lehigh, I just haven't had a reason to dock them necessarily. I know it's higher than other people, but I feel like the last time that they made playoffs, they performed admirably and they got further than I think a lot of people expected them to. So there is a little bit of procedural bias from last year's, but also like they're winning by multiple scores. So each game that they're playing, they're doing what they need to do. Originally I did, because like last year they beat, um, was it they won their conference by beating Lafayette. They beat Richmond in playoffs, and then they played a tough first half against Idaho, and that was an Eck Idaho. That wasn't what we see today Idaho. So I feel like that was pretty decent on their part. So going into this season, why I believed in them, they had the consistency to beat Richmond again. And then everyone else they've played, they've won by 2 scores. So I just haven't really had a reason to dock them. Yale, Columbia, those are going to be interesting teams as well. Going into their Patriot League play, not a lot to take away from that. So they might slowly drop down my list as conference plays on and strength of schedule becomes um, more of a key KPI that I look at. But Holy Cross, that's a game I'm looking at. If they don't win that one, especially it being at home, they're going to plummet pretty far in my rankings. So Lehigh is high until they lose.
They're like, yeah, they've given you nothing to drop them, but
Yeah, it's like
if they
Tennessee Tech.
drop one, it
Once
will
Tennessee
likely be
Tech,
a pretty steep.
they're going to go down by 10 at least.
Okay, then you've always shown the HBCUs a lot of love in these polls. Got Jackson State at 20, NC Central at 22. I have no real qualms. I don't love NC Central, but the, I'm not gonna fight you too hard on that one.
I think
Um,
they've turned it around a
Presbyt
little.
Okay, Presbyterian continuing to look impressive, 4-0 or 5-0 now. Just beat Morehead State 41-0. I feel like they're one of those teams that I'm right there with you. They may be a little underrated, but they just like don't have the legacy, and they also haven't really proven it to, like, they've beaten a couple decent teams, but they don't have like that marquee win. So was Presbyterian a pretty easy, like, let's settle them in around the late 20s if they or early 20s? If they keep winning, they'll climb 1 or 2 a week, and we'll just kind of see how it plays out.
They're kind of one of those hover ones, like Tennessee Tech and Lehigh. I can see as people might be like, I don't believe in those ones. Those should be later in your poll. That's fine. But like as far as their resume and what they've done so far, I feel like they've done enough to stay. But also like they are high risk. They are all risk, little reward. So basically, your reward is you win, you stay. You don't win, you plummet. Same thing with Presbyterian. They're giving me a lot of Central Connecticut vibes when they made a playoff push and looked fairly interesting with their quarterback. Then going on to the FBS and whatnot. So they're giving me those type of vibes of like Darling, Cinderella. You put them in the playoffs, they might perform like an HBCU would, kind of just having troubles, getting blown out. But I think they're good enough to go to the dance. Whether or not they get crowned at the dance, that's another story.
All right, and then I think a good in closing, because I need to bolt out for my pay the bills job. But Cal Poly 25. You know what? I see why you did it. I see why you did it. I don't think I agree with it, but I guess I don't really have a ton to. My only real pushback would be I don't think you were that high on Sac State. So like I feel like maybe you're like overvaluing a win against a team you didn't think was that good in the like up top. But also you've been listening to me like peddle the Sac State propaganda for months now, so maybe that also kind of feeds in a little bit. So but how'd you settle on Cal Poly at 25?
So I had a couple different ones that were floating around. Who's going to be 25, and ultimately 25 doesn't matter all that much. There was a couple that were floating around. Ironically enough, the antonym to Cal Poly was San Diego. So kind of the flip the coin was already decided for me with an early result this season. There's some other ones in there that like I really wanted to put in this week, but they lost, i.e. Southern Utah, i.e. some other teams that were, Abilene. I wanted to give them more love this week, but they got demolished by Incarnate Word. So ultimately, Cal Poly, everybody's love Sac State. Everybody says Sac State's so great. Well, Sac State wasn't great this week.
All right, you said it well. I don't have much of an argument there. Those back half is really, you could have Youngstown maybe, but we like that would be a ceremonious. They'll be here for a week before they drop off, unless they somehow put up a good showing next week. On it, yeah, a lot of those are very interchangeable towards the end. So you could have 6 different teams as your 19 through 25, and I probably still wouldn't have that much of an issue with it. So, good work though. I'm interested to see when I sit down a little later today how mine's going to look, because I'll tell you now, I'm going to have Tarleton over Montana. Probably not over SDSU. That was cute for last week, but I think the Jackrabbits kind of regained their footing. But any closing thoughts, whether it be from around the week last week or moving forward here into next?
No, it's just exciting to have good football around, especially in Bear Country. So we're appreciative of that. Taking a week off. So gonna check out what everybody else is doing around the league and see who's real and see who's a little bit fake.
All right. Since there is a bye this week, we will not have a football bear with us, but we will have men's basketball player Zach Block joining to kind of chat the Portugal trip. His time, the longest tenured bear, has a chance to leave after this year. There's the winningest player in UNC basketball history. Already has 3 seasons of 20 plus wins. So excited to talk to Zach, and then we will also just have a normal Beyond the Den pod, just like this one, reacting, giving our pick'ems, tearing down each other's top 25s, all that fun stuff. So as always, if you like what we're doing, please, please, please like, comment, subscribe, review, tell your mom, girlfriend. The dads are pretty tough to crack into. So if your dad ain't already in on the ground floor, he's probably gonna be a little hesitant to hop on now. But if you don't like what we're doing, Ben, his DMs are always open. That is at Bear Claw Media. He's happy to hear whatever you have to say. So have a good one.